How impactful is that little piece of pallet, cardboard, or plastic wrap on your warehouse floor to your operation? Could be a lot bigger than you think and could have a huge impact on your efficiency, your safety, and your overall performance in your DC. This is DC 101 in collaboration with the Brecham Group, where we dive into some of the foundational basics that drive your operation forward and to the next level. And today we're diving into the importance of housekeeping and cleanliness within the DC.
So housekeeping ultimately is just about organization and cleanliness, right? Do we have trash on the floor? Does everything have a place that it's supposed to be? And how well do we maintain it? So, first of all, there's a safety component to it, but kind of more importantly, we get into a ton of facilities, and one of the things that we've noticed over the years is I've never been into a high performing operation that didn't look like it was high performing. It was clean, organized, had all of the attributes that you would expect of a well run operation. And some of that comes back down to kind of very basic principles around housekeeping, actually. And the first thing is that honestly, it's about how do you create ownership? How do you start to engage with people? And from a management perspective, it's really about setting an expectation and then managing that expectation. If we are willing to go out and just accept how things look in the building at any given time and we're not satisfied with that, then we let it be okay to not have that. That same principle applies not only to housekeeping, but everything else in the operation as well. And what we see is that in high performing organizations where they're paying attention to details like housekeeping, they're also paying attention to all the other details around their operation. Well, we actually hear that some. And the reality is that people are often perceived to be busy because they don't want to take the time to do the difficult things, right? And it's not that it's difficult. If I did the right thing on the first attempt, so one of my favorite things is, rolls of label backings in pick modules or in case picking areas, right? And you'll find these kind of everywhere. Was it any harder for the employee to drop it on the floor than to put it in the trash can as they went by? And the reality is it doesn't take any more time to do that. And again, it goes back to our attention to detail, right? Of are we going to let people do that or not? If we can't teach them how to do some of those easy things like throw it in the trash can, how can we really teach them and hold them accountable to doing the harder things like picking the right cases in that environment? Everyone should, ultimately. What a part of what we believe and how we go approach housekeeping in facilities is we make sure that somebody has some piece of every operation. So the entire building's covered, but there's a distinct owner of who is responsible for housekeeping in this area. And that does a couple of things. One, it gets everybody to buy into it. Everybody has some ownership, right? It also, you start to see some peer pressure impact of that around, hey, I'm not going to do something in somebody else's area because they'll do it in mine. So I start being more respectful in total and doing the right things more often. I think the biggest thing that we often fall short on is the follow-up and the accountability of housekeeping. Right? It's one thing to say that everybody has an area. It's another thing to say to go out and give them feedback about that area. So how do you go out and review and actually provide feedback of, is this being maintained the way we want it to be maintained? Did we even spend the time on the front end really set the expectation of what does good look like even? And when we go into an operation, we'll even at times go clean an area of the building just to demonstrate this is what it's supposed to look like. It takes a little bit of work and effort to do that, but once people see it and you start following up to make sure they're doing it, it's amazing how quickly they will start doing it.